Good afternoon, guys. So today we are going to talk about parallel and perpendicular lines in continuation from Friday. And this time we're going to be forming equations and solving those. So you guys should have your writing parallel and perpendicular equations. So I'm going to go ahead and write in my topic, and I'm going to try to use a black pen so it shows up better than it did on Friday. I know that was a little challenging for some of you. So writing, and again, I'm going to use those symbols for parallel and perpendicular. And then equations. And then you guys can add today's date in there and then your class. So just add in my topic so far. So what are we going to do today? Given a linear equation and a certain point, you can create another equation that passes through the point that's given. And it's going to either be parallel or perpendicular to the line that we're given, depending on what they tell us to do. So what we have to recall from Friday, what do the slopes of parallel lines have in common? They are the exact same sign, the same number, everything. And then parallel lines, there are two blanks there. They have blank, blank slopes. So you can use one of two words for the first one. They can either have a negative or I use the word opposite. Slopes, and they are reciprocals, which means that they are going to be flipped. I'm going to write the word flip underneath that with an exclamation point as well. So they have negative or opposite reciprocals, and reciprocals means that we flip whatever is there. So we're going to start out with two parallel examples, then we're going to do two perpendicular examples, and then we're just going to do a little bit of both on the back as well. So looking at number one on our paper here, write the equation of the line that passes through the point that's given, negative 2, 7, and it's parallel to the line y equals negative 4x plus 1. So if it has to be parallel to the line y equals a negative 4x plus 1, well, that has a slope, try to box it in there, of negative 4. So if it's parallel, that means the line that we're going to deal with also needs to have a slope of negative 4 because parallel lines have the same slope. We're going to use the point it needs to go through. They gave us negative 2, 7 as well. So we have information that you have a formula for that you can apply that Miss Swinbank taught you guys on Monday, and I went over again with you guys on Wednesday. So point, slope, form in order to get this into slope-intercept form. Remember, that is y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. They've already given us one line in slope-intercept form. We need to come up with another formula in slope-intercept form based on the new ordered pair they gave us and using a slope that's going to make this parallel. So plugging everything in, y minus 7 equals negative 4 times x plus 2, minus a negative is plus 2. Y minus 7 equals negative 4x minus 8. Add 7 on each side, cancels out. Y equals negative 4x minus 1. So in this case, it looks like they're almost identical. They're not. The line that they gave us had a y-intercept of positive 1. The line that we came up with has a y-intercept of negative 1. So they are different, but they will be parallel, meaning they're never going to touch because they have the same slope. So we're using point slope form in our skills, or I guess our knowledge of what we know about slopes when they're parallel versus perpendicular. All right, we're going to do one more parallel example looking at number 2. So it's going to go through the point 3, negative 1, and it's going to be parallel to x minus 3y equals 9. So they weren't as nice in this one because the equation they gave us is in standard form. So I can't look at that and know immediately what the slope is. So I'm going to do a little rearranging to get y by itself. Negative 3y equals negative x plus 9. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 3. Cancels out. Y equals 1/3 x. 9 divided by negative 3 is negative 3. So I haven't done any work towards my new line yet. I've just been trying to figure out what's the slope of the one they gave me. So I'm going to get a slope here of 1/3. So I have the point that was given, and if it's parallel, I know the slope that I'm going to have to deal with will also be 1/3. So I have the information I need to use point-slope form for my new line. So this was all work we had to do just to figure out 1/3. All right, so y minus y1 equals in parentheses x minus x1. I'm not going to write that formula again, but I am going to apply it. So I'm just going to immediately plug in those values. Y plus 1 minus a negative 1 is plus 1 equals 1/3 parentheses x minus 3. Distributive property, y plus 1 equals 1/3 x. 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. Negative 3 divided by positive 3 is negative 1. Subtract 1 on each side. Y equals 1/3 x minus 2. Beautiful. We've got our equation in slope-intercept form. That is parallel. It has the same slope as the one that we started with, and they have different y-intercepts, meaning it's not the exact same line. They're two different lines that will never intersect. All right, those are your parallel examples, and those ones are easier because we don't have to do any switching of our slope. It's the same exact thing. What makes perpendicular a little harder maybe for some of us is that we'll have to take the slope that's given and find the opposite reciprocal. So looking at number 3, it's going to go through 4, 3, and it's going to be perpendicular to y equals 2x minus 4. Perpendicular, so the slope of the line that gave us is 2. What is the opposite reciprocal of 2? Well, it's positive, so I know my new slope is going to have to be negative. 2 is the same as 2 over 1, so the reciprocal would be 1 over 2, or 1/2. So this is the information I'm going to use point-slope form. So I took the slope they gave us and made this the negative or the opposite reciprocal since they're perpendicular now. So y minus 3 equals negative 1/2 parentheses x minus 4. Y minus 3 equals negative 1/2 x. Negative 1 times negative 4 is positive 4. 4 divided by 2 is positive 2. Add 3 on each side. Y equals negative 1/2 x plus 5. Box in that equation for me and you're good to go. We're not graphing or anything today. We're just practicing how are we going to tie in parallel and perpendicular with how we know to use point-slope form. So taking those two skills from last week and combining them. All right, number 4, this is the last one on the front. Equation that is perpendicular to the line that passes through negative 5, 1, and is perpendicular to 5x plus 3y equals negative 21. All right, just like we had to do in number 2, it's in standard form, so we need to rearrange this into slope-intercept form so we know the slope. Minus 5x on each side. 3y equals negative 21 minus 5x. Divide both sides by 3. Y equals negative 7 minus 5 over 3x. It's an x there, a little messy. So my slope for this is negative 5 over 3. So, is it negative? I just want to make sure my signs are good. Make sure I copied it down right. Okay, I think I'm good. Correct me if you guys noticed something else different. I think I should have divided by that positive 3. Second guessing myself now. Minus 5x, negative 7, negative. Okay, so that means my new slope is going to have to be positive. So m equals 3 over 5, because I also had to flip it to be the reciprocal. So that's going to be the slope that I work with, and then I'm going to use the point that was given. So y minus 1 equals 3/5 x plus 5. Y minus 1 equals 3/5 x plus 3 times 5 is 15. 15 divided by 5 is 3. Add 1 on both sides. Y equals 3 over 5x plus 4. All right. Cool. So that is the front of our notes. So yours are going to go to the back and we're going to continue practicing with these skills. With number 5. So these are all going to be parallel And so you'll see that the first two, 5 and 6, are in slope-intercept form, and then 7 and 8 are in standard form. So let's start with the 5 and 6. So give us a point. They gave us a point, and then they gave us slope-intercept form. So I know I'm going to have to use -1, -4, -1 for my point. And then the slope is 2, and they're parallel, so my slope will also be 2. So now I'm just using point slope form. Y plus 1 equals 2 parentheses x plus 4. Distribute. Y plus 1 equals 2x plus 8. Subtract 1 on each side. Y equals 2x plus 7. And I'm looking for an equation in slope-intercept form that is parallel. If it has the same slope, then it's going to be parallel. Number 6 going across, the ordered pair is 8, 3. And the slope is -1/4, and it will be the same because it's parallel. So y minus 3 equals -1/4 parentheses x minus 8. Distribute -1/4 x. -1 times -8 is +8, divided by +4 gives me 2. Add 3 on each side. Y equals -1/4x plus 5. Beautiful. Moving on to 7 and 8, where we're going to have to do some extra work beforehand with rearranging. So the point for number 7 is 4, 5, and the equation is x minus 2y equals 14. It's in standard form. I cannot look at that and figure out what the slope is, so that's why we rearrange it into slope-intercept. So subtract x on each side. -2y equals 14 minus x. Divide by -2, y equals -7 plus 1/2 x. So my slope for number 7 is 1/2. So that means I'm also going to use that because they're parallel. Parallel lines have the same slope. That's the given information I need in this box when I go to use point slope form here in a minute. That's all the work I had to do to get that. So now point slope form. Y minus 5 equals 1/2 parentheses x minus 4. Y minus 5 equals 1/2 x minus 1 times -4 is -4, divided by +2 is -2. Add 5 on each side. 1/2 x plus 3. Box in my final answer. You're good to go. All right, number 8. -6, 7, and then we've got our equation in standard form. 5x plus 2y equals 10. So first thing is to rearrange this so I know what slope I'm working with. So subtract that 5x on each side. 2y equals 10 minus 5x. Divide both sides by 2. 5 minus 5/2x. Yes, it's an improper fraction. Leave it that way. So the slope we're going to be working with is -5/2 because they are parallel and it is the same. So we're going to go ahead and plug this stuff into point slope form, boxing that off so it doesn't get in my way. Y minus 7 equals -5/2 parentheses x plus 6. Minus a negative becomes addition. Distribute -5/2x. -5 times 6 is -30. -30 divided by 2 is -15. Add 7 on each side. -5/2x minus 8. Awesome. So you should have all of your parallel examples done on the back. I'm at 14 minutes, so I am going to do my 4 perpendicular examples in a separate video.